What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another live stream for you guys, and today we're going to be talking about the top four race, and we're also going to be talking about the manager situation with all the rumours about Conte and Pochettino doing the rounds at the moment. But let's start off with the top four race, and Harry Kane's been speaking today, and he said that pretty much that Spurs are going to have to win the remainder of their 5 games if we want to get this top four. Do you think that's true?
I don't think it's true, but that's the right mentality to have, because as much as Arsenal might drop points in games they have where you don't expect, we might as well. So you have to go in the mentality that, considering Arsenal have a 2-point lead, if the only way it stays in our hands is if we win all our games. If we win all our games, we will be playing Champions League football next season. I know we have Liverpool away coming up, which is obviously going to be extremely difficult. But the only way we can guarantee a top 4 place and all the eventualities that come from that, we need to make sure that we win all our 5 games, and it's going to be very difficult to do that. And it's not going to be easy. We have the capability to do it, but it's not going to be simple whatsoever to do that. But I think going into all those games with a mentality that we can't afford to drop points, we have to win every single game, is the most important thing. But for me, it didn't seem like we had that mentality over the last 2 games. That was the most disappointing to me, especially the last game. It seemed like we, near the end, we were happy. We would rather take a point than throw caution to the wind and try and get all 3. So ever since we keep saying, "Oh, cup finals this, cup finals that," we've got 7 cup finals. We've been faltering.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be. I feel like sometimes when you have that mentality of we've got 7 cup finals, and then, because even if you drop points in one of them, there's still all to play for. But if you go in the mentality it's cup final and you lose early on in one of the early games, then all of a sudden you can make it seem like a bigger deal than it was, because you got the mentality that it's do or die in every game if it's a cup final. You
got a feeling that maybe they're putting a bit too much pressure on themselves from a bit too early.
I don't think now, because 5 games to go.
Yeah, now I'm saying from when they started saying it.
Potentially, yeah. Because I think they started saying 7 cup finals, and we drop the first time first cup final that comes up, we lose. So it's like, okay, are we out of it now? But no, we're not out of it, because it's still very open, it's still very close. So I don't see the point in calling it a cup final if it's not gonna have the consequence of a cup final if we lose one of the games. You know what I mean? And you don't want to have negativity seep into the squad when there's still all to play for. You know what I mean? So that's why I never like that cliche.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. But when you're looking at, the face of things, when you're looking at Arsenal, do you back them? I mean, how many games do you back them to win from now to the end of the season? Because I don't think they're playing well. I really don't think they're playing well. I think they're majorly getting the rub of the green. They look shaky at the back, and things are just falling for them at the moment. And again, for this West Ham game, Craig Dawson gets a sending off in the last minute of the game. Yeah. They got no fit centre-backs to play Arsenal next weekend. And on top of that, they're in between European games. So even if a centre-back does miraculously get fit before that game, they won't be playing, will they? They're going to be saving them for the Europa League games.
And that's disappointing. That's frustrating that that's the case. And I think in terms of Arsenal, how they're playing at the moment, I have to say that as much as they are getting the rubber green, that's obvious against Chelsea United, they are definitely upping their game from a footballing standpoint going forward. I think Odegaard, Smith-Rowe, Saka and Nketiah definitely looking to have upped their level recently than they were the previous games. They looked lethargic and they looked static before that. They weren't creating the number of opportunities that they have been recently. Especially when you take the Southampton game into account as well. They created a lot of opportunities in that game. So I think they're starting to play better football, but from the flip side, they're looking very, very shaky all of a sudden at the back, whereas before they weren't. So a lot of the times it's a give and take as to the balance of the team. And at the moment, Arsenal, the thing is with Arteta, things were going badly. Obviously lost 4 out of 5 games, and then he switched up. He brought El Neni in, he brought Nketiah in, he put Tavares back at left back, and although I don't think they had stellar performances against Chelsea United, they definitely did look better going forward. I don't think that's a doubt. I think they were definitely getting in better situations. They've been definitely looking sharper when they go forward. I think you've got to give them credit for that. But how they've managed to make the mistakes they have done at the back and get away with it is another question.
Yeah.
I don't know how they've managed to do that. That's just one thing. Sometimes you get those in the season where you just get the rub of the green, and maybe that different energy in having that different energy in the team than they had before when it was going stale has created their own luck in a way, because they have looked a lot better going forward. And if they could continue to look that good going forward, then and with the new confidence and belief that these 2 wins against 2 teams up, higher up the table has given them, then it's going to be difficult. But no doubt they have the ability to drop points. We just got to put pressure on them. If we beat Leicester on Sunday, where they go away at West Ham, I know West Ham with all the difficulties they're encountering, but they're still going for a top 6 place. However they think, if United drop points against Brentford on Saturday, they're going to have a chance to gain some points on Man United in top 6, and they're not going to give up on that just because they're in Europe. I know I'm sure they'll rest players, but I'm saying the players on the pitch, you saw against Chelsea that they very nearly took a point from them. They were very motivated to get that point. They were very well organised. And they're going to look to frustrate and stifle Arsenal, and it's whether they can do that because of the quality of Arsenal's forward players. But if they go into that game behind us, they need to win. They can't draw, and that adds a different element of pressure potentially for that game. So I think it's just all about us making sure that we don't make it easy for them, and we don't. For example, if we drop points against Leicester, that all of a sudden that greater motivation, that pressure is almost off for Arsenal in that West Ham game. They can play with a bit more freedom. But if we can get the win, put pressure on them, go above them psychologically, you might see them stutter again. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think when I was watching that West Ham Chelsea game, it did give me a bit of hope that West Ham maybe can get something. I know it wasn't after European game, but it was a much changed team, and it'll be a very similar team, isn't it? The one that's going to face Arsenal. I know Craig Dawson.
No Dawson, yeah.
Yeah, Craig Dawson won't be there. I have no idea. He did have a great game. I mean, and Declan Rice, I doubt will play, so he won't be able to fill in at centre back. So I mean, who can even play at centre back for West Ham? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that when you're looking at Arsenal's results over the last 5 games, that's proof to you that at this stage of the season, anything can happen. It's just so unpredictable. You got teams fighting for their lives. The fixtures are there on screen for you right now. So you got West Ham, right, which will be a hard game in its own right, even though West Ham are in the middle of games, European games. You've got Leeds, who if they drop points tonight, they'll be fighting for their lives. And Jesse March has seemed to have got a tune out of that team. Obviously, you got the North London derby, Newcastle away, which is an incredibly tough fixture at not at this stage of the season, but just in general because of the way Newcastle are playing. And last game of the season, Everton at home, who also could be scrapping for their lives last game of the season.
We saw Everton yesterday. I know they lost in the end, but they made things for an hour at least, who no one expected even an hour of difficult play. They made it very difficult for Liverpool to build up play, to create any chances. Liverpool created very, very little for about an hour in that game until obviously they made some changes and really forced the issue and obviously got the win. But that showed that they are fighting for everything. At the moment, they're in the relegation zone, and might well be the case going into the last day of the season. If it is, that's not going to be an easy game either. Having said that, obviously we have Burnley at home as well, and they're going to be scrapping for everything. They've got new motivation under the new management. I think they're unbeaten now in 3 games under the new manager. So
2 wins and a draw, I think it is.
Yeah, so that ain't going to be easy either. And obviously Norwich away, you have to say, if we can't win that, then we don't deserve anything. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So I think it's still...
And it's on your birthday as well, so surely we're due a bit of luck that day.
Birthday present. That'll be a beautiful birthday present to get top 4. It is still so tight on a knife edge, isn't it, this top 4 race. In terms of Man United, they are 4 points behind us now, and we have obviously the game in hand, which is Arsenal at home. I can't see them, the way they're playing.
Look, Man U could be out of it in the next 2 games. Their next 2 games are Chelsea and Brentford. If they don't pick up a win in either of them, I think that'll be them done.
I can't see them getting top 4 from this stage. Even after that, Brighton away and Palace. Was it Brighton away and Palace away? Is it
Brighton at home? I think it is, and Palace away.
Brighton at home. It says away there. It says
Oh, it's
Brighton
away.
So their last 2 games. Those 2 games, I can easily see them dropping points in one of them. You know what I mean? So
I think Man U are done for this season. To be honest,
they needed to get at least something from Arsenal to stay.
and they deserve to be fair.
Yeah,
they did deserve to, but now they didn't. I can't see them doing anything this season. Chelsea got nothing else to play for this season. Brentford are playing really well at the moment, and 2 hard away games to end off the season.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for United. Even if they win all their 4 games, that puts them on. That's 12 more points. That puts them on 60. They're on 54 at the moment. So that puts them on 66. Like, even if they win all their 4 games, are they going to get it? I don't know. I don't think
It's
so.
highly unlikely, but they're not. They won't win their next 4 games.
I can't see us or Arsenal finishing below 66. Considering Arsenal right now are 60, we're on 58. One of us is going to finish above 66.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think you've probably got to say they're out of it. So it really is a shootout between us and Arsenal.
Yeah, and it's not just going to come down to a North London derby. I don't believe that narrative at all, and I think that there's 2 difficult fixtures for both teams after the North London derby. Like I said, Arsenal go away to Newcastle straight after that North London derby. That's going to be a very difficult fixture for them. Newcastle are like one of the form teams in the league at the moment. In December, they were 7 points, bottom of the league.
5 home wins in a row.
And exactly, now they're 9th in the league. That Newcastle game, barring the North London derby, is their hardest game for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they could definitely slip up in that game, the way Newcastle are playing and the way Eddie Howe's got them playing. And they're going to have motivation as well, because although they're safe and got nothing to play for, they've shown that, obviously, everyone knows that it's going to be a big summer for Newcastle. So all the players are right now trying to... it's pretty much an audition for all of them to show they want to be part of this project for next season. Obviously, Bruno Guimaraes as well, playing really well at the moment.
We spoke about him in January, saying that, we would love him at Spurs and all that kind of stuff. And he's proving his worth, isn't he?
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant player.
Yeah, and he's obviously coming up trumps. Joe Linton's obviously playing very well. So it's not going to be easy for Arsenal in that game. So even if we're still behind, there's still a bit of hope that if we get the wins that we should.
That's why I was saying the other day when you were saying that, if Arsenal win their next 2 games and we lose to Liverpool and beat Leicester, it's more or less done. But I don't think that's the case either, because I think that Newcastle, if they win that Newcastle game, yeah, fine, I'd accept that. But that Newcastle game is our opportunity if we are going to go to lose to Liverpool and they win their next 2 games. That's the opportunity for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, assuming we win the North London derby, that is.
Correct, but then it's just completely out of our hands in that case, which is not a situation we want to be in. Going last 2 games of the season.
Of course, it's not a position you want to be in, obviously, but the fact of the matter is, it's a very difficult game for them, so it's an opportunity.
I think the biggest worry is that as much as Arsenal are getting the rubber of the green, it's not that we're not getting the rubber green, it's just we're not playing well at all at the moment in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest worry when it comes to analysing who's going to get what points, because who would have expected no shots on target against Brighton and Brentford? No one would have expected us to do that. And the fact that I just saw a compilation of all our mistakes, all our sloppy mistakes against Brentford, and it is shocking, man. It is. We obviously, you can see it during the game, but when you see it just like in a compilation like that, it just is so concerning about what it was. It's not simply just tactics and stuff, but how lethargic and sloppy and like tired that we looked in some of our movements. And we're talking about some of the best players. Harry Kane was one of the biggest culprits of that during the game. Obviously, we know Emerson and Sessegnon, the troubles we've had with wing back and stuff like that. But to have Harry Kane looking as lethargic as he did on we need him to be on top of his game if we're going to have a chance of snatching this top 4 spot. And the fact that he looks so bad is a massive worry in terms of, can he recapture that form now for the last 5 games? And we need to shake things up a bit. I think the same way Arteta changed it up, maybe we need to do the same, because maybe sticking with the same team We could do that because you could say, look, it's 2 games. Hopefully we can, we go again and we can recapture the form the team were playing. And maybe you don't want to hit the panic button, but it's hard not to sometimes when the games are running out and we're looking so stale as we have in the last 2 games. And you need to just shake things up a bit to make sure we're looking creative again. Because at the moment, it's like we can't even get a shot on target, let alone a goal. So how are we going to win all these games? That's what it feels like. But maybe we have to just have more faith in the way that we were playing before, and hopefully we can start playing like that again.
Is these last 2 games just more proof of the mentality of this squad, of the players in this team? Because, we're playing so well, scoring so many goals, and as soon as we come under a little bit of pressure, as soon as we become favourites in this top 4 race, this happens.
I mean, in theory, we should be the team actually at this stage who's a bit more experienced and we've got players in the squad, including the likes of Bentancur, Son, Kane. You could maybe even put Kulusevski in there, Eric Dyer, Romero, Ben Davis, even Lloris. If you look at that core of the squad. These are players who are very used to getting top 4 finishes. They've done it many, many times in their career. They've done it on consistent basis as well. A lot of them in a Tottenham shirt, they've done it. So they've been in these run-ins. I know recently, over the past couple of years, we've faltered. But, we went, 5 years in a row under Pochettino, finishing top 4. And we're used to these kind of run-ins. But albeit, when we did play under Pochettino, apart from maybe that last season when I think we claimed top 4 on the last day.
Was that when Aubameyang missed the penalty?
That season.
Yeah.
Apart from that season, I think we were pretty much clear of top 4 come the run-in.
Yeah, obviously that season we did get very lucky that Aubameyang did miss that penalty that day.
Yeah, obviously, but yeah. I'm saying we still got top 4 in that run-in, but I'm saying apart from that year, in the 3 previous years, we were already we were well clear in top 4 before the last 5 games or so. So it wasn't really a pressurized run-in like there is now. But still, these players know what it's like to go on a string of wins. To when it comes to crunch time in a season when you're going for top 4 to get over the line, they've done it many times. So
this is probably the most pressurized top 4 race we've had since the one that we beat Man City in.
Since the one that because the season, even that season when we finished 4th under Poch, it wasn't a case of us chasing or it was neck and neck. It was a case of actually, because we went on a great run first half of the season, and it was pretty much just in the last few games, it was about we were actually well clear, and then we allowed Arsenal to close the gap for the last few games, and then we just got over we pretty much crawled over the line in the end. This is a bit different. Did
we draw to Norwich at White Hart Lane or something like that?
I can't remember. We drew to Norwich. We lost a lot of away games. That was it. We lost to Southampton, and we were losing quite a few. We lost to Bournemouth. I remember we had 9 men.
That year.
I think we drew last over the season to Everton. We were dropping a lot of points that season. We lost to West Ham at home as well. We were just faltering right at the end. But it wasn't a case of us chasing someone down. It was a case of we were well clear in 4th, and then we were in that Champions League run. All our focus was on that, and we took our half ball in the league, and we very nearly let it slip right at the end. But we never dropped out the top 4. We were always in the top 4 at that whole time. Now it's different. Now it's like we have to go on a run of wins to make sure that we're chasing and making sure we get into that top.
It's pretty much just punch for punch now. Blow for blow. Tyson Fury, Dillian White. Let's hope we're the Tyson Fury and do a knockout in the 6th round. But it's going to be difficult. And when you're looking at it impartially, taking a Tottenham hat off, taking their Arsenal hats off and stuff like that, you've got to say Arsenal are the favourites now, and it looks unlikely. It looks a bit unlikely at the moment for Spurs to do it, but anything can change.
I wouldn't say unlikely, but I would say they are the favourites. But I wouldn't say like.
But like when you're looking, of course it's so close. When you're looking at their fixtures, I mean, you're backing them to win the majority of those fixtures. West Ham with the European run, you probably back them to win that. Leeds at home, you back them to win that. Newcastle away, they are the better team, but it's going to be a difficult game for that. North London derby is the game, and then the next 2 games after that. The next game after that, Everton at home, which Everton have been shocking for a whole season. So if they do what they're expected to do. They get top 4.
Correct. I guess if they win, yeah, but that means they have to win. They have to win 4 of their last 5 games to pretty much get top 4, which is not beyond the realms of possibility. But it's also, you could argue that's unlikely considering how they're playing at the moment, despite getting 2 big wins. So I would say it's still so close. It's still
It is so close.
So I wouldn't call it unlikely that we get top 4 from this position. But
no, I'm not saying it is unlikely that we'll get top 4. I'm saying when you're from the outside looking in, when you're not putting your Spurs hat or Arsenal hat on, from the neutral point of view, it looks as though Arsenal are going to get it. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, they're favourites at the moment. That's reality. We've let their advantage slip and we've given it back to Arsenal and they've taken it. That's reality, and we have to live with that. But it's still so close. Any one game again can change it. Just one result. Arsenal could drop any result in any of those 4 games apart from us. I feel as much as they could win all of them, they could also drop points. In
Agreed.
Any of them.
And the same goes with us.
Yeah,
exactly the same goes with us. I mean, if we don't go and beat Leicester this weekend, then it really is a massive uphill task.
If we don't beat Leicester, I can't. Look, if we don't beat Leicester and then Arsenal fail to beat West Ham, then it's back on again. But if we fail to beat Leicester and they go and beat West Ham, yeah, then you have to say then it's unlikely.
Yeah,
then it goes unlikely. I 100% agree with that. And also, but in terms of the ramifications for both teams, we'll go into the manager situation in a moment. But it's just I think the ramifications for us not finishing top 4 are so much bigger than Arsenal.
In what sense?
In the sense that in terms of where our squad's at, the manager situation, money to spend in the summer. I think that for Arsenal, right now they've got a very young team. They're not in danger of any of their big players leaving, even if they don't get top 4. Their manager is going to be there next season when they get top 4 or not. Everyone, a lot of they like him over there at the moment. Well, most of them do, I think. Especially in terms of club level, they definitely like him, and he's definitely going to be there. In terms of money to spend, Arsenal, I don't think it's as dependent as Tottenham getting top 4 for Arsenal to spend. Because I think they've shown last summer they're willing to spend big money when they weren't in Europe. But for Tottenham, it's all up in the air. Conte staying, Kane staying, money. Whether we're going to have the money to reinforce the squad as much as we could if we don't get Champions League. I think I'm not saying if we don't get top 4 everything goes to shit, but I think if we don't get top 4, I think in terms of the squad, it's a lot more of a setback for us than it is for Arsenal, in my opinion. As much as Arsenal would have. In their project, it would be fantastic for them to get top 4 now. There's still belief in that project whether they get top 4 or not this season. Whereas for us, I think a lot more doubts creep in if we don't. Just in the case of whether we continue with this project. We don't know that. It's not guaranteed that this project will continue if we don't get top 4. That's the reality, unfortunately. And it might be the case where we don't get top 4 and we tell Conte, look, we're going to back you, and Kane stays and Conte stays, and that's all great. But I'm just saying that's not 100% guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed, but I think...
It's not 100% guaranteed.
I think it is... I don't know, like with Haaland going to City, I mean, where's Kane going to go this summer if we don't finish top 4? Realistically, I mean, who's going to spend the money on him?
I don't know.
I can't see any other club spending the money on him. Would he want to go to Manchester United, who will be in a similar boat to us? I'm not too sure. And in terms of Antonio Conte, I don't think he leaves if we get just because of top 5. I think he leaves because if the club don't back him or not.
That's what I'm worried about.
And I don't think 4th or 5th should make a bearing of how we back Conte. I don't think it should. I think the money should be there either way. Levy was saying not long ago that the finances should be a lot better now than it was during the pandemic, which is obvious. We managed to attract Christian Romero, Dejan Kulusevski, Bentancur not being in the Champions League and being in the Conference League and stuff like that. So I don't see why we can't have a pull this summer, being 5th, being as a Europa League team.
The fact of the matter is, this club relies on Champions League money. We looked at the finances. That's what it said. We rely on the Champions League money we're going to have to spend. And then the money won't be as much. That's just a fact. We won't have as much money to spend if we're not in Champions League. The budget won't be the same. And if the budget's not the same, will the budget if we finish 5th in Europa League be enough to get the players that Conte wants to feel like he's been backed? If it's not, then all of a sudden he leaves, and we'll bring up that conversation in a sec. But like all of a sudden we're starting a different project again. I'm just saying, whether Arsenal finish 4th or 5th, they're on the same project. For us, it's different. We might not be. We might be. Conte might feel like this is enough money and he's going to stay, and Kane will be motivated to be at his best and whatever. It's down to Conte. We might get the right backing, but there is a situation for us where us getting top 4 costs us that. And Conte decides that isn't enough. Actually, the budget isn't big enough, and I don't believe in this project. And he moves on. That is a reality that might be the case. Whereas for Arsenal, 4th or 5th, they're going in the same direction. Doesn't matter. They're sticking with that manager staying there. All their big all the big players they currently have are all going to stay because they're young. They're Arsenal through and through. They're going to be there next season. So that's why it's definitely more important for us, for me.
Yeah, there's also a case that in this summer, it's a bit easier to have a bit of a tighter budget because of the deals that are available this summer.
Yeah.
This transfer window is very different to what it has been in the past 4 or 5 years, where you've got a lot of good players on free transfers. You've got a lot of good players in the last year of their contracts as well. That will be a lot cheaper than what they would have done maybe a year or two ago. So that gives me that little bit more confidence that if we don't get Champions League this year, we can still do that kind of rebuild. To the rebuild of like Conte's requirements.
I just think it's much more important for our project to get Champions League this year than Arsenal.
It is. That's the reality. No, you're right. It is. But I don't think that all is lost if we don't get top 4.
I never said all is lost. I said it's possible it might be, but I don't think it is.
I don't think it.
I think there is a situation where it might be. Look, I think we're on there's a domino effect for me. And I think the dominoes could start to fall against us if things don't go right in these last 5 games. There is a reality where that is possible, and that's what I'm worried about. I just think if we do get top 4, all those worries set aside, and I think we're going on the right path. Conte, I'm guaranteed, will stay. Everyone believes we're going in the right direction, but if we don't, there are doubts that might creep in. I'm hoping they don't, and I'm hoping everyone's still on the same page. But there's a possibility that they might not.
If the doubts creep in, then if the doubts creep in, there's only one guy to blame, and the one guy to blame, as always. I mean, it will be completely unforgivable. No matter what happens, it'll be completely unforgivable if we let this Conte situation completely slip from our hands, whether we get 4th or 5th. Even if we get 5th and we don't back Conte to his requirements, it's an absolute disgrace.
Of course. I completely agree with that. I guess let's move on to the next subject.
All right, let's move on to the next subject, and we're going to be talking about the manager situation now. There's been quite a few reports over this morning and yesterday about Antonio Conte to PSG, and also Pochettino as well. I don't know if you know, but Pochettino was booed on his final game. Well, I don't know if it was the final game of the season, but the game that they won the league in, they read his name out on the tannoy and he got booed. Apparently, he is not happy at life with PSG. But anyway, let me read you the reports. La Parisienne was the ones that broke it, and they say Antonio Conte has offered himself to PSG on an initial 2-year engagement. Ali Gold pushed back on that and said that people around Antonio Conte say that the PSG rumours are not true. It gets interesting a bit with this Gary Jacobs from the Times interviewing article, and he says Antonio Conte has been told that he'll be backed in the transfer market this summer, but Conte wants to be sure about Tottenham's vision to close the gap on the top 4 sides and get back into the Champions League. He follows on from that, talking about PSG, and he says PSG are finalising sacking Pochettino and will consider Antonio Conte as his replacement. Should this materialise, it is possible that Maurizio Pochettino will then complete a Tottenham Hotspur return. Antonio Conte is interested in succeeding Pochettino at PSG. The French club are finalising the sacking, although Zidane is the first choice. Matt Law, just recently, this article has come up, and he says that Conte is believed to be one of the candidates for PSG. but sources close to the 52-year-old are adamant that there has been no contact yet with PSG. Conte will wait until the end of the season before holding talks with the club over whether he will continue at Spurs next season. Antonio Conte has no contact with PSG about succeeding Pochettino. And Get French Football Now was saying that Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy has been in regular contact with Pochettino in recent months, attempting to convince him to return to the club. Pochettino has told the PSG board that he does not want to continue with the club, and the feeling is mutual. The manager has kept his cards close to his chest regarding a Tottenham Hotspur return. I've been saying quite consistently over the past year, actually, that I believe that, well, ever since Conte's joined, that I think that Poch will be our next manager after Conte. I didn't think it will come this soon, but I still don't think it's going to come this soon. I do believe Conte will be our manager next season. I don't know if that's more hope than actually what I'm actually thinking, but I just don't think Conte will leave this summer. I do think Daniel Levy will somewhat back him in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I want to believe that. I really want to believe that. History tells me that I'm foolish, but I want to believe that Levy wants an elite manager and he wants to back him with all the funds and he wants us to go for trophies and he wants us to have a chance of the best chance possible of winning it. But another part of me thinks that Levy might actually not be that bothered with Conte leaving. Another part actually in my head tells me that he knows Pochettino can work within a budget. He knows that Conte is very demanding. He's going to want, and as Matt Law says, he's going to demand 6 players in the summer. And he's going to demand all these funds and big money and big wages and all this stuff. And he's going to want big, and he wants to overhaul and everything like that. He's worked with Pochettino before. He knows that Pochettino is willing to work within a lot more, less demanding when it comes to transfers and stuff like that. He knows that Pochettino might not be as not to say that Pochettino doesn't want to win leagues and stuff, but he might not be as demanding in his ambition to start competing for the league next season as Conte might be, and might not put the board under as much pressure as Conte did. As much as Poch tried to in his time, especially late on, he never quite he's never quite on Conte's level when he comes to pressurising boards and stuff. So there is a small part of me that does think, if Conte, would Levy stand in Conte's way if he does want to go to PSG and he has an agreement with Poch? Part of me thinks he might go with it, and he knows the Spurs fans, as much as we will be angry at him letting Conte go, are we really going to start booing Pochettino if he comes back? Probably not. We'll get behind him.
No, well, you wouldn't be boo Pochettino, it'd boo Daniel Levy. I mean, he would be the culprit in all this. And at the end of the day, if Conte did want to go, Levy shouldn't stand in his way. Levy should let Conte go if he wants to go, because you don't want a manager that doesn't want to be here at the end of the day. We saw Conte when he didn't want to be at Chelsea, what he was like on the sidelines and stuff like that. If Conte doesn't want to be here, no one's going to stand in his way at the end of the day. No,
but it's not about... No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying if Conte is demanding something, right? He's saying, I want this or I want these things, or I'm going to threaten to leave. I'm worried that Levy, instead of matching his ambition, will say, okay, leave. That's what I'm worried about. And then we'll bring Pochettino back. And then Levy will bank on the fact that there'll still be a good feeling around Tottenham and the fan base because Pochettino's coming back, and that will install a good feeling. He might...
I don't think it will.
He might... Look, if Pochettino came back, as much as I don't want that right now, and I'd 100% prefer Conte to stay, and I think he's the best man for Tottenham right now in terms of taking us to the next level. Are we really, if Pochettino did come back to Tottenham, is there really going to be a negative feeling around that?
In my opinion will be negative. I'll be negative. I love Pochettino, and I'd love to see him back at this club. But
once the season starts, are you really going to be negative? We get some business done, and we get Pochettino back.
It's what it represents. What represents bringing Poch back. It represents that, again, another world-class manager through this door that we didn't back.
Correct.
And that's what it represents. And unfortunately, I think Levy's job should be untenable if Conte goes this summer. It should be, no matter who comes through the door after that. I don't care, because you've got Jose Mourinho, who he hired, if Roma win the Conference League this year, that
top five. That's pretty good.
That proves that Jose Mourinho is probably not a washed-up manager. And if Jose got what he wanted from the board, then he could have been a success here. So that's another blot on Levy's CV. If Conte leaves here after half a season, I mean, that's ridiculous. It will be a disgrace. And I don't think Levy's job will be tenable after that. I really don't. And if Pochettino comes back, yes, it's probably the best out of a really bad situation, but it's just what it represents. It completely represents mismanagement from the board once again.
That's what I'm worried about. And I'm just saying, there's a part of me that thinks that Levy, that Daniel Levy might see that as for him and the finance and all that stuff, the best situation, and that's what I'm worried about. And when it comes to all this Conte and Pochettino talk, because it's kind of like a choice of either give Conte exactly what he wants, big money, even whether we get Champions League or not. You have to spend a lot of money to satisfy him, or if there's a clause in the contract that you can leave after 6 months or whatever, let Conte go to PSG, let him get all the money he wants there, and bring Pochettino in and have a manager who's going to be more willing to work within his budget. And that's what I'm worried about.
The fact of the matter with Pochettino, right? Yeah, he was willing to work in that tight budget at Spurs. But it got to a stage where he was calling for that painful rebuild. He was calling for us to act like a big club. Correct. He was calling us to have this big. I don't know what the analogy he used is, but I can't remember, about the big stadium and putting big furniture in. Can't remember the
nice
analogy.
House, but no, needs
that's
nice
the one.
furniture.
Nice house that needs nice furniture, and that's still the case. That's still the case right now, even more so potentially right now. So, if Pochettino was to come here, he also would need to be heavily backed.
The problem is that Conte and Pochettino are very different managers in the way they play. Very different systems, very different ways of playing.
Exactly.
And we have spent so much time now that over the last 6-7 months under Conte, learning his system, learning his way of playing, trying to perfect it. Still not perfect, especially with the players we have, but we've definitely, the majority of the squad, I believe, even though the last 2 games have gone how they've gone, I do believe the majority of the squad have got to grips with how he wants to play, and are fully aware of the system, and we've almost got it like clockwork for a lot of games this season. And if we let go of, if Conte does leave in the summer, then all of a sudden you have to rip that all up, and you have to start a completely new project again. You have to start Pochettino's way of playing again. Although quite a few players played under Poch, you still have to. All the new players have to learn his way of playing. Do Son and Kane want to go back to that? How they were playing before? It's a completely new project. We have to get even like younger players who are fitting Pochettino's way of playing. You have to get his profile players instead of Conte's profile player, which are two very different profiles, and that might set us back. We might again be going into next season if we get Pochettino in, with the fact that we might not get top 4 again. Whereas if we sit with Conte, we're going for big things next season. That's the aim. We're going for trophies. We want to challenge for big things, and that's his ambition. Whereas if we get Pochettino, I feel like that ambition won't be there. It's not we're going for big things. It's like, okay, we're going to try and get top 4 again, maybe have a cup run, and that's what we're looking for next season if we go to Pochettino under a new project. So that's why I'm feeling like it would be less expensive for Conte to have Pochettino here.
For Levy, yeah.
Less expensive for Levy, yeah. That's just what I'm worried about. Obviously, and if there is any truth that Conte has got in contact with PSG, obviously we've heard it's not true. Matt Law says there's absolutely no truth.
And Ali Gold, yeah.
Ali Gold says absolutely.
But let's be honest, the news out of Tottenham will be that. The news out of Tottenham will be that.
I'm not going to say, yeah, it's true. Yeah. Exactly. Les Parisiens are supposed to be very reliable. That's the worry. And they're saying that Conte has offered himself for 2 years. Or potentially, maybe it's like a backup plan for him in case things go tits up at Tottenham. But
I do feel that Zidane. I do feel like Zidane is like a match made for PSG. I mean, but
apparently he wants to go to take over from
Deschamps.
And that could be too big of a job to turn down if that's in the running. If there is any truth,
Deschamps is leaving after the World Cup, isn't he? Is that right?
I believe so. If there is any truth though that Conte has made contact, then that would annoy me, to be honest, because at this stage of the season when we need everyone's concentration on one thing and getting the results, like if Conte's focus is like backup plans in case things go wrong right now, then that isn't right. And that shouldn't be the case. That would really look. I'm not saying that is the case because hopefully, look, from what we're hearing, it's not true. But if there is any truth to that, then that's a terrible situation to be in.
Yeah, I know. James Smith here in the comments has it spot on. He says Poch is Mr. Spurs, but it's going to be a step backwards, not a step forwards.
I'm not saying this. I completely agree with that. I completely agree. Conte is a much more elite manager than Poch, as much as I rate Poch. And we might talk about Poch in 10 years' time as being an elite manager. But right now, he's an excellent manager, but he's not elite. He's not Pep. He's not Klopp. He's not Conte. He's
Conte's
not on that level.
top 5 managers in the world.
Exactly. This is the kind of caliber we're talking about. Pochettino's an excellent manager, and he did an unbelievable job. Still to this day, he did an underrated job at Tottenham. Still, people don't give him the respect he deserves.
He's our best manager in Premier League history.
Yeah, and I think the job he did with us, we're seeing now how difficult it was. You know what I mean? To get us 5 consecutive top 4 finishes, a Champions League final, despite the fact he didn't win any trophies. So I'm not saying that we wouldn't be in a decent situation if Pochettino did come back, but I'm saying we have right now an elite coach who we need to make sure we make the most of. And if we let him go, because he's not going to be backed, because he's not getting what he thinks are the right tools to succeed at this club, then of course that's a step backwards. Of course that's the project that we have now being ripped up. We're literally ripping up a project after 6 months if that happens, and we're starting a complete new one. And when everyone knows at the start of a project, it takes time. It took time in Pochettino.
How many projects are we going to rip up?
It took
How many projects? We ripped up the Mourinho project. We ripped up the Nuno project. We're going to rip up the Conte project. It's a joke, this football club.
It took Pochettino a year in the first time round to get everything across. And with the squad we have now, he's going to want completely different players to what Conte wanted. It means new scouting network and all that kind of stuff.
It might actually be cheaper to keep Conte, because Conte has...
If you want 6 new players...
Yeah, but Pochettino might need way more than 6 new players. How many of this current squad actually fit into a Pochettino system? None of the wingbacks do now anyway. None of the fullbacks do. I mean...
I think Reguilon might be a bit better under Poch than he is.
But, Eric Dyer was falling out of favour with Pochettino anyway. The midfield, is he going to want to keep Højbjerg? Is he going to keep... Winks is probably going to be gone anyway. The strikers, Lucas Moura was hardly getting a game under Pochettino anyway. Steven Bergwijn might thrive under Pochettino. I don't know. I think the rebuild will be more under Poch than it will be under Conte.
I don't know. I think it's...
The only difference is that Poch will go for a different calibre of player. He'll go for maybe a less expensive type of player, young and up and coming, that Daniel Levy likes, exactly. Where Conte is going for more ready-made kind of style of player.
Yeah.
But I think the number of players that we need to bring in will probably be less under Conte than it will be under Poch.
The calibre, the what?
Number, the volume.
I don't know about that. I think Pochettino's more willing to work with what he has than Conte. Conte has to work with what he has because that's what he has. But I don't think he wants to. Right? If he wants to get rid of Emerson and the wing backs. He wants up to 6 new players. Even a lot of us are saying that's not enough. But but
when Poch was at us, he was calling for these rebuilds. He was calling for this. He was calling for that.
Yeah,
he was willing to work under the constraints, but he didn't want to either.
Yeah, but the squad now, a lot of the players, it's a very different squad to what he had when he left. Apart from obviously Lloris, Kane, Son, obviously Davis and Dyer are still there. We've got a few heads, but a lot of them has changed. All these new players he's got to work with to mould in how he wants to mould them. And we saw how good he is at making players better than they are in his role and his system. And he would back it, and like with Kulusevski as well and Bentancur, I'm sure he would back himself for a lot of these players to not just want new player, all these new players, but to work a lot more. Obviously, he's going to want new players, but I don't think he's going to want as many or as expensive as Conte would. And that's why I've just got a horrible, horrible feeling that Levy wouldn't mind letting Conte go to PSG, because I reckon it's less of a headache for him as well. I reckon that's what I hope he's not thinking, but I fear that he is, because we just know Levy. We know he would rather have someone who's not going to be demanding, who's not going to be on his case all the time, and someone like Pochettino who just likes to get down to work on the coaching, on the training pitch, and all this stuff, and his large focus is there.
But then where does that leave as well, like Fabio Paratici as well? Because Fabio Paratici, obviously, we heard when he came in, like he prefers the Conte style of play, the more defensive, you know what I mean, 3 at the back. Will Paratici be able to work with Pochettino?
I hope so.
Because I don't know if he will be. I mean, obviously it's up in the air, but Paratici brings in the players of the mould. I mean, he didn't exactly bring in Nuno players, did he?
He didn't exactly. Well, who knows?
Like the players that he brought in with Nuno, hardly any of them worked apart from Romero.
Nuno barely played them, didn't he?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. You'd have. I don't know what it means for Paratici. Does it mean he moves on as well if Conte moves? That's also another reality, and that's why I think top 4 is so important, because I think.
And the recruitment under Pochettino was disastrous after Paul Mitchell left.
Yeah.
So if we're going to bring Poch in, we're going to need to bring someone with him, a director of football with him, that they have the same philosophy of football.
Correct. All I'm saying is, this is why I was talking about top 4, how important it is, because I think the reality of it going wrong with Conte and the budget and him being demanding and all that kind of stuff, there's much more. It's much more likely that happens if we don't get top 4. If we do get top 4, the likelihood is he gets the money, he stays. Kane's motivated to stay here and be at his best and everything like that. I think it's a much more smoother transition into next season if we do get top 4. If we don't, then the dominoes could fall in that way. I'm not saying they will. Nothing's a guarantee in football. No one knows what's going to happen. I'm just saying logically how I'm thinking about it. If we don't get top 4, the dominoes are more likely to fall in the way of Conte not being happy with the money he's getting, not being backed, him leaving, Pochettino coming in, and then starting a new project. That just seems. I'm not saying it seems likely that will happen. It seems more likely than if we do get top 4. Yeah. That's just what I'm worried about.
I just think like the landscape of football at the moment and the current transfer market, which we're about to go into. It's more likely that Conte can get more players of his ilk in this situation, even without top 4, at good prices that maybe Daniel Levy can't kind of miss out on these kind of deals.
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
I still think it's likely Conte will stay if we don't get top 4. I'm just saying the reality that I don't want to come to fruition could do more likely if we don't finish top 4.
And everyone can do without this bloody uncertainty anyway.
Exactly.
It's like this club, the future of this club has been uncertain basically since Pochettino left.
Yeah.
We've been it's just so frustrating, this football club. It really is.
Read some super chats.
Yeah, we'll get through the super chats and then we'll start bringing on you guys to have your say. So let's go for it.
Fan Bridge says for the remaining games, drop Emerson and play Kulusevski at right wing back and Stevie B up front. At this moment, I'm convinced Emerson plays for his highlight reel.
Or his negative highlights reel.
Honestly, the shamelessness Emerson has to post highlights reel when he does barely anything every game.
What, does he post highlights reel? I haven't even seen.
Yeah, he does.
Oh my God.
On his own Twitter. He didn't do it yesterday, obviously, but after every win, he does it. He posts his own highlights reel, and it's like you've barely done anything. Like you literally just squirmed the goal over the line against Newcastle, and you're doing a whole highlights reel. It's unbelievable. It's incredible, really. Carl Patrick Vineyard says, "Yes, lads."
KPV.
Giving up to him, he says, "Yes, lads, how you doing? Come on, you Spurs. Conte will never manage PSG. It's just fake news. Hashtag back Conte. Hashtag Levy out."
Hope you're right, mate.
I hope you are. The Kyle is confident. Benjamin Parsons says, "What has Bergwijn got to do to get in this squad? It always seems as Lucas is above him on the subs bench. Give the man a chance. Hope you're well, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Let's hope we can turn this bad form around. Tottenham till we die."
It feels like...
Is that what it means?
Tottenham till we die, yeah. It does feel like there's something going on in the background with Stevie.
Yeah.
What does he have to do to get a game? I mean, he's the one showing a lot more than Lucas Moura. Surely Conte can recognise that. I mean, it makes no sense if he doesn't. Surely he recognises that. I mean, I got a feeling if he does move Kudu at right wing, he's just going to start Lucas at right wing.
I mean, at Bergwijn, he should be seeing so much more minutes on the bench. There was even a case of he should be starting games a lot of the time, with the way he was playing, and the fact that he can't even get on the pitch when we're 0-0 and he gets a few minutes here and there does not arrive me whatsoever with the way he's been impacting games. So I don't know what's going on there for some reason.
And Conte's always being like, yeah, Stevie's got to believe in himself a bit more. Maybe we need to believe in him a little bit more.
That's why I like to think. Exactly. Conte needs to start showing some support for him as well. Bob Spur TV says, woke up feeling negative, but that changed when I realised I'm doing my first watch along after coming back with Sim. Top 4 is ours. Believe it. Want it. And I will be on the watch along with Bobby for the Leicester game on Sunday 2:00.
Come on, Bob.
Forward to that.
Come on.
Looking forward to having Bob in the studio. Get ready for it, people. Ginty says, if we don't get top 4, Conte leaves, then Kane probably leaves. So maybe the casuals finally say ENIC out. The only silver lining I can see.
I don't think it's as simple as that. Like we've been saying all stream. I don't think it's as simple as if we don't get top 4, these players, Kane and Conte, will leave. Because you got to think about it realistically. Where's Kane going to go? Who's going to stump up the money for him this summer?
The problem is if he refuses to sign a contract, though.
If he refuses, but then again, if Haaland's going to Man City, which it looks like he is, I don't think he's going to go to Liverpool. He wants to stay in England to break Alan Shearer's record.
The thing is, he might go to Man United if he sees that Tottenham are restarting a new project. Then he might think
they're also restarting a project.
Yeah, but they've got bigger funds, they've got more ambition, and he might have more belief in the United project. Because right now, the project we have under Conte, he believes in it. He believes that he's got an elite manager, ambitious manager who wants to challenge for big things, hopefully Champions League football, blah blah blah. But if we rip that all up and start again, would he rather start a new project with Tottenham where he's been through 3 or 4 now and it hasn't worked, or just go for a brand new one at Man United where they're going to have a lot of money, a new manager, better players around him? He might go for that. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Under Conte, there's no reason for him to go to Man United, but if we change manager, there might be a reason.
Interesting. But that's literally the only club. Literally the only one.
Yeah. So it's pretty much only Man United.
And it's like, that's the only club, and they're also starting a new project if we get Poch the same time as us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he might fancy that project more.
Yeah, well, we don't know. But yeah, maybe. What's the next one?
Faz Radfar says, we would have taken this position at the start of the season. Definitely after 10 games, I would have.
Well, I mean, look when we were reviewing the season or previewing the season, nobody gave us 4th. Nobody gave us a chance in hell for 4th. Let's be honest.
6,
But the fact of the matter is, nobody thought we were bringing Conte in November.
Correct. And so I wouldn't have taken this position a couple of weeks ago. But look, yeah, I think at the beginning of the season, I would have taken 2 points behind 4th going into the stage of the season. This run-in probably would have taken
it. We probably would have taken it when we were 6 points behind Arsenal. What was it, a month ago or whenever it was ago?
Yeah, probably. Fan Bridge says there is no reason to back Conte. Stadium being in full use for a year for football and events. Naming rights yet to be done. Let's see Levy's ambition. I think he means there's no reason not to back Conte. And I agree. There is no, whether we get Champions League or not, there isn't a reason to back Conte, but Levy's very good at finding them.
Yeah, he is very good at finding them. But, what was the point of this stadium? What was the point of it if we don't back our manager this summer?
I agree.
There's literally no point whatsoever. But anyway, let's start bringing on some guests, and I think you can guess who is up first. I think you can guess. He's getting his fingers ready. But he's actually got a smile on his face today, so happy days. Let's bring him on. Mr. Brian Daigle, everyone. Brian, how's it going, buddy?
Boys. It's going good. How about you and everyone in the chat?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. I mean, it's just frustrating that we have to deal with these kind of rumours. But before we get into the Conte and Pochettino stuff, let's talk a bit about top 4. What's your opinion going into it? I mean, it's still very close. It's like punch for punch at the moment. How are you looking at it?
So first of all, I want to wish, I don't know if he's in the chat, one of our own, a regular that comes on this channel, Mr. George Georgiou, a happy birthday.
Oh, happy
happy
birthday,
birthday,
George.
George.
Same birthday as
So-
Kulusevski.
Lovely.
Exactly. So I don't know if he's in the chat or if he's watching, but if you are, George, happy birthday, mate.
Happy birthday,
it just
George.
Came up, it literally just came up on my Facebook notifications. So I was like, oh, okay, good timing. You know what, Tom, I was doing this yesterday on our show, and do you know what? The game that I've kind of put as Arsenal's banana skin is Newcastle away, which is the game after us. They've had a few bad. I mean, Newcastle away is a hard game for anyone right now. But historically, if you remember that 4-4 they had, where they're 4-0 up at half, Newcastle has not been the best venues for Arsenal, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But I think the games building up to it, they might just get like we've got with Leicester. West Ham are going to be putting everything into the into Europa League, so that could come back. And now with Craig Dawson suspended, you got to think the odds best stack against Arsenal. So I can't remember. Do we play before Arsenal or do we play after Arsenal on Sunday?
Yeah, just before. Yeah, I think we're at 2:00 and they're at 4:30.
Okay, so let's hope let's kind of hope we can put the pressure on them and send a message to them rather than waiting to see what they do and send a message to us, so to speak. And then it's Liverpool, isn't it? Listen, we out of these games, I think we've got to get a minimum of 4 points. 3 at the very, very sorry, 3 bare minimum, 4 acceptable, 6 obviously would be lovely, but I don't think will happen. So I think we've got to go into these 2 games in the run up to them with at least 4 points in the bag, and just hope they slip up. As long as it's not out, the way I look at it is if it's not going to be decided on that game and it could be decided the 2 games after, then I fancy us. Because Newcastle away and Everton, who could be fighting for their goddamn lives,
But then we got Burnley. We got Burnley, who are also fighting for their lives.
Yeah, and then we got Norwich, who will be done and dusted. But then that could be a bloody that could be a red herring, couldn't it? Because they got nothing to play for, so they could just go, oh, do you know what? This is so tough. This is what we've done to ourselves.
Yeah.
This is what we've done to ourselves with these 2 games. Do you know what? I changed from saying no all season, and then I flipped to yes, and I'm not going to flop back to no. So I'm going to stay with we can do it, but I think 4 points is a minimum from the. 3 minimum, 4 will be in our best interest, obviously. And I think if we get the 4, I can't see Arsenal getting 6 points from the next 2 games.
All right. Now we can talk about Poch and Conte and everything surrounding
Well, before we do that, Ben, what I did want to talk about, 2 things you brought up was Kane and Bergwijn.
Go on.
Okay.
So with Bergwijn, you know how I feel with you, Ben, on Bergwijn, and I got to watch a moment. You 2 got to watch the Mora hat trick. I got to watch the Bergwijn 2 with Simeon at Leicester, and I'm a big fan of his. And do you know what? Like you were saying before, what I've been saying as well is, like you said, Conte's been saying wonderful things about him, or not wonderful, but good, saying, yeah, we're happy with him. He's doing this, he's doing that. We should be happy. He should get some more. But then it's like his actions aren't speaking louder than his words. His actions are speaking louder than his words. Sorry, he's not giving him the game time. So it's all well and good you saying all this positive stuff, but then you're not showing it to the player by giving him the confidence or the minutes to come on and do something. So I'm a bit. Do you know what? I'm kind of thinking he wants to do it a right wing back, and I think I've heard. I can't remember where I heard it from. Maybe you guys, but I don't quote me on that. They said apparently he does not want to play that position. So maybe there's been like a little fallout there, and then you've got to look at it. If he doesn't think he's going to get minutes, he's going to want to go in the summer, isn't he? Because it's the World Cup.
Yeah. And
he's going to want to be playing. So that it really concerns me. But I want Bergwijn to get minutes. I think he should deserve minutes. And then when it comes to Kane, I don't think Kane's going anywhere, even if Conte goes. I think now he knows he's in touching distance to Jimmy Greaves. Do you know what? In all honesty, looking at it right now, I'd rather he go for free. And we keep him for 2 years and just try and get everything out of him. And hopefully we can progress within the 2 years, hopefully with Conte, which we'll come on to. And that'll do it. But right now, if you sell him for whatever, you can't get another Harry Kane. You cannot get another Harry Kane. So it doesn't matter how much money we come in. It's not just a striker we need. We need a striker, a playmaker, one that can defend. You're not going to get it for the money that we get in for him. So
but then again, Brian, do you want to risk what we went through the first half of this season with Harry Kane?
Jesus, I didn't even put that element in. Thanks, Ben. You throw that spanner in the works. You got a good point, but I don't. I mean, it all hinges on what we're about to talk about, doesn't it? But I think he can see Greaves' record in his sight now, and I think if you look at it,
he will break it by the end of next season. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you would have thought so, wouldn't you? Especially if he can get a few goals in with the last 5 games to go. I mean, what is he, about 24 goals away now?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So let's say he gets another 6 or 6. As long as that gets down to within 20, he's blatantly going to do it next season, barring injury. So would he want to stay for that? Because obviously that's you got to remember, that's a huge accolade to have. That's a massive thing to say to finish your career, whether you go on a free or we sell you on, but to say you are Tottenham's record goal scorer with a record that stood that long, and look how long it's taken to beat it. That record will take a long, long time, especially in the speed that Harry Kane's done it in, to come close
Don't worry,
to it.
Dane Scarlett will beat it with flying colours, mate.
Oh, I pray to God, mate. I pray to God. I pray to God. But yeah, now let's get into the juicy bit.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Where do you want to start?
Where do I want to start? Who knows? Can start literally anywhere. But what's your opinions of if we don't finish in the top 4? Do you think it is a possibility that Conte will look at that and be like, you know what, this is enough for me?
So I hope it is. I hope it is. I mean, when we say we need him to be backed, as you said, as we all said, Conte isn't one of these Jose Mourinho's or Pep Guardiola's that goes and spends, or not Pep, he doesn't do that, but the players that go and spend hundreds of millions of players. He'll spend 40s and 30s and whatever. If he finds a player that he identifies that fits in his system, he'll spend that money. But he's never been known for being a huge spender. And if he has spent big, like on the Lukaku, they offset it with player sales. So it kind of balances it. So that's when we're talking being backed. Under Poch, we were talking, right, we need huge investment, huge players, huge signings, huge money. We have a manager that doesn't need that. It kind of sings to the Parasites model that this guy doesn't spend big, he spends well. So you would think this could be you would like to think this could be the summer that could do it. But then, like Simeon said, it's kind of like, does Levy care? Does he actually care? I was kind of, until we said about Poch, he knows Poch can work on a shorter budget and everything. I was like, oh God, that's right. That's right. It's very concerning. Obviously I want Conte to stay. Anyone who says they want Conte to go is just, in my opinion, just, I don't know what more this man needs to do or what caliber this man needs to have to say we need him to stay. We just got to hope and pray that it does, because if he goes, I've said as well, I've been getting abuse on Twitter where I said if he goes, it's because he knows he hasn't been backed. And he knows he's not getting what he wants. So like he did with Inter when it was like, don't sell these players. Oh, you're going to sell them? Bye-bye. But then obviously people are saying, no. If he goes without giving Levy a chance, then it shows that Conte's walked out. And I'm like, well, no, he's done this before. If he doesn't get what he wants, he leaves. He's historically done it at Chelsea and Inter. So it's not me having my Levy agenda, which, yes, I blatantly have. He's done it at 2 other jobs. If you don't give him what he wants and he's not happy with what you're allowing him to do, he'll say goodbye, and he'll come out and tell the media, this is why I'm leaving. So if he does leave, we know why, and then the knives come out, and not just from me. I hope there will be a huge swing in the Levy out amount of people saying it. But yeah, we've just got hope. And the one thing the thing that gets me with this whole PSG link is we all know PSG want the Champions League more than anything, and he is not a Champions League manager, or he hasn't got the best European pedigree, has he?
No, he doesn't. That's a good point as well, actually, Brian. So why would they want him? But Brian, if there is any truth that at the moment, obviously the sources coming out of Tottenham is that Conte hasn't made any contact with PSG, and that's all not true, that he's offered himself. But if there is any truth to that, what would be your opinion on that? And would that sour things with Conte a bit right now, if there is any truth to that?
I don't know if it's hard for me to say if it's sour it, because again, like I just said before, if his agents, it could be a ploy for his agents to say, right, I'm going to make this move, So it backs Daniel Levy to say, give me my money. So it's not just him sounding out to say, yeah, let them know I want that job. We all know this goes in football where they want more money or they want what they can't get. So they put a few feelers out, and then obviously they hope their club backs them and says, right, okay, listen, you're not going anywhere. Here you go. Yeah, if Conte's doing this, I think there's unrest up top. But that's me, and I'm always going to kind of lean that way. We all said, listen, when Conte came in, we all said, and I was with Ben when this all broke, that if he's not backed and doesn't get what he wants,
we know that, Brian. Your arm says it.
Yeah, exactly. Then we know what this is about. We all said this is the manager that will finally flush everything out, and then we'll see. We'll see. But listen, when it gets to Poch, I love Poch with all my heart. I've got to see great players like Gaza that I always go on about, Ginola, Klinsmann, Sheringham, like the list goes on. And I may have seen great players, but the greatest team I saw was under Poch. That peak Poch, that last season at the Lane, where you walked into the ground and you just knew you were going to win. I've never felt that at Spurs, when you were walking up and you didn't just think it was going to be win. You thought it was going to be a convincing win. There was no, oh, we might scrape it. This was always going to be. And those memories I'll never ever forget. But I don't want Poch back at all, especially under Levy. I would love to see him back later on in life, maybe under a new owners and everything, but not a chance under Daniel Levy. Not a chance.
Brian, if the situation does happen that Conte does leave in the summer and Pochettino does make a fantastic return to Tottenham, do you envisage the fan base restarting protests and there being a negative feeling around Spurs, or do you think the fan base would rally behind Pochettino for the new season?
Well, put it this way: if this does happen, I think I'm coming back for 2.5, 3 weeks. If this does happen, I might be extending it for just a little bit longer. Listen, whatever happens, we're gonna back the team. And we always will. And listen, Poch coming back will send a lot of people in. Oh, look, the Messiah's back. Oh, wicked! But this is all brilliant, and everything's going to be all la-di-da, and everything's going to be happy again. There's still players there that threw him under the bus. There's still players there that, when it all went sour, are still there. Yes, it will have the feel-good factor with some supporters, and like when Bale came back, but it's a step backwards. If you look at it, we've had Poch, who overachieved. We then got an elite manager, but he was on the decline in Jose. We then got the elite of the elite. If you look at it, listen, I put Conte, the only ones I put on anywhere or in comparison with them are obviously Klopp and Guardiola. If Conte walks, the only way our next manager is down. You're not getting another manager at his level.
Yeah.
You're never, at this point, if you look at it, like you said, for me, this is the biggest appointment Tottenham Hotspur have ever made in their history. If you look at it, Bill Nicholson wasn't deemed as like the upper echelons of management. He won stuff that put him there, and forever, at the moment, he is our greatest winning manager. He is Mr. Tottenham, and he correctly stands as the king of Tottenham. But he wasn't Conte's level when we appointed him, and football obviously was nowhere near the level it is today. Yeah. This appointment is the biggest appointment Tottenham have ever made.
But Brian, my point is,
after Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, my point is, Brian, would there be enough good feeling with Pochettino coming back to Tottenham to not for Levy not to be under that much pressure if he did bring Pochettino back?
Do you know, the only way I think, and this is me saying, the only way I think that it may turn more positive is if Pochettino said, if I do this, Paul Mitchell comes back with me and doesn't go to United, and whatever this man says, you do. No ifs, buts, maybes. No, oh, wait a minute, I can find you a cheaper option. Or because you got to remember when Paul Mitchell was there, and people will always speak about him very, very highly. And everywhere he goes, they speak about him highly. He was a huge part of what happened with Pochettino. And it all started going wonky once he left. If there was to be any kind of silver lining in that, it would be, for me, with the caveat that Paul Mitchell comes with him. but I would still be completely, totally, and utterly Levy out, and so would a lot of people. I think once again this paper's over the cracks.
Yeah.
This will be like when he got rid of Nuno and brought in Conte. This will be like when we were ready to strike big time on the last day of the window, and he pulls Kulusevski and Bentancur out, and it killed everything dead. This is another joker in the pack that Levy will pull out and hope it silences people, and I don't think it will this time.
All right.
I don't think it will.
Big up, Brian. Thanks for coming on today, my friend, and we'll speak to you soon.
You certainly will. They're ready. I've got a 6-pack on my fingers, mate. I've got literally. So here we go. And as always, Levy out.
Big up, Brian.
Nice one, Brian.
All right. Next up, we have the birthday boy. Happy birthday to you. Bring him on. George, how are you, my friend? Happy birthday.
Thanks, guys. Brian let it out of the bag.
Yeah, he did. He did.
How many years young are you today?
Oh, you don't want me to answer that question.
Oh, but you know, a lot of...
22, is it? 22, 23?
52 again.
You're getting younger every year, George. No, but maybe you're doubling in age every year with the way Spurs are going at the moment. But
yeah, certainly feels that way.
Yeah, let's talk about this whole Conte and Pochettino thing. I mean, what's your whole opinion surrounding this whole circus at the moment? I mean, do you think there is a possibility that Conte will walk at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think that I don't think things are looking good, to be honest with you guys. I mean, I'm a little bit on the wary side here. I mean, we're dealing with a few things which are interrelated. So, in my opinion, I think the downturn of the team's form may well be as a result of them having understood that may well be the case. And if it is, it's going to be pretty calamitous, isn't it? I think we're all in agreement on that. I was the biggest advocate of backing Poch when he was at the club, and pretty disgusted in the way that he was treated when he was sacked. But I'm very much in the same thoughts, have the same thoughts as Brian, that it just is not the right way. You just don't, the way it's all been handled with, and if Poch was to come back, would have such a bad resonance within the club. I mean, why was he sacked in the first place, and then bring him back? It would be certainly 6 managers or something ridiculous in whatever it's been, 3-4 years. It really does not really look good for us. And then again, it ends up being another rebuild project, a new philosophy, and how do we move on? And let's face it, I think we could kiss looking at top 4 finishes goodbye for a good few seasons if that ends up happening. So I have great concerns about what's going on at the moment. And again, it just stinks of really bad, poor, non-understanding of the football world from our board and from Daniel Levy. I do hope that I'm really mistaken. But yeah, I'm really concerned.
Do you have a fear that Levy might look in the summer, and with all the Conte's demands, and he wants 6 new signings, and he wants big money, and he's very ambitious, he wants to win, he wants to challenge right now for big trophies and league titles and all these things. Do you have a fear that Levy might just go, all right, I can't give you what you want, I'm just going to let you go to PSG, and I'm just going to bring Pochettino back, and bringing Poch back, the good feeling of him being one of our best managers, might placate fans putting pressure on Levy, if that was the case?
I hope that's not the case. I hope people will see through all of that. I mean, we do have a very nostalgic fan base. That's definitely true. I think that happens a lot when you're dealing with being starved with success for as long as we have been, because nostalgia is the only way you go. And that being the most successful period for that most of the, let's say, on my birthday, I'm going to sound really old, of the younger sort of profile of the support base. will see that as being the most successful time. In the same way that people are getting really nostalgic about Christian Eriksen and what he's doing at Brentford. It wasn't so long when Christian Eriksen, as much as I have a very high regard for him, that he wanted to leave the club. I just think that it would just be a very, very nostalgic move that will touch all the potentially the right buttons with parts of the fan base. But look, realistically, it's not where we want to be. We have an elite manager in the fold. What a crazy idea of not backing him and dispensing of his services when he's so obviously one of the most knowledgeable winners in football today. It just would be insane. It would just be insane.
If it is true and Conte is putting the feelers out to PSG, let's just say for this conversation argument's sake that it is true, would your opinions on Conte change at all?
On the basis that...
At this stage of the season as well?
Yeah, look, on the basis that the French league is not the most competitive of leagues in the world, yes, on that basis. If he has already, I think it was on one of the feeds you guys put through. I think it was Sim mentioned that Conte was very angry about the way Conte looked at his situation unfolding. Correct me if I'm wrong. So if that is the case and he is angry, he is disappointed. His agent would be stupid just to sit on his laurels and not be putting his client out there for potential other jobs. And yes, PSG, let's face it, is a viable project for him, but I'm not sure that Conte would fit in there. He is a very, very competitive individual. And 50-60% of the games that he's going to end up playing in that league are going to be gimmies for a manager like him. And I'm not sure that it would suit his particular profile. But look, we're dealing with a world where money talks. And at the right price, it may well be something that he would go into. But like I said, whether it's PSG or not, I'm just a little bit concerned here with dropping our performances. The sudden drop as well. It's not been sort of a gradual thing. It's almost like we've hit a brick wall. And all these rumours with Conte not being happy, I hope I'm really wrong about this, but I just think that the two may be linked.
Yeah, that's the worry, isn't it? It's difficult to if that is the case, then that would kind of explain why there has been a massive drop off. But in terms of the top four race, first of all, do you still feel like there's a good chance for us to make that top four? And do you feel like the consequences for top four are much higher for not making it for Spurs than for Arsenal?
I think they're massive. I think it's what's going to put the money in the bank to back Conte. If we don't have that money in the bank, I just can't see a hard-nosed businessman like Daniel Levy calling up Joe Lewis and says, well, look, we've waited long enough here. The supporters are baying for success and we've not delivered. Can we open the purse strings? I just can't see that happening. So I think it is pretty instrumental in going forward. And I don't know. You were speaking today again about Haaland as if it's sort of 80% there with Man City. Have I missed some of the rumours at the moment? Is there something really that's tangible that's in place?
Yeah, it seems that Romano was talking a few days ago saying that. Is everyone trying to wish you happy birthday?
You're getting all the birthday calls today, George.
I think so. I think I may need to just turn the volume down on some of these things. I apologise.
It's all right. Yeah, Haaland, according to Romano, he says that Haaland sees City as the best project for him, and that apparently they're very close to agreeing personal terms, and obviously it's about agreeing a fee. Or I think he has a release clause, doesn't he, with Dortmund? So at this current time, it's looking very likely he's going to end up at City next season.
Yeah, I mean, look, it could well be the case, but I mean, City have the finances, and with the fact that we're talking about Manchester City here. One year on, and how much of a fee is Harry Kane going to be able to, the Harry Kane deal going to dictate? We're talking about 70 million, 80 million. On his current goal return, I would say maybe potentially it could be even a bit less than that. I mean, I wouldn't put it past City to put in a bid for both. I mean, they tried it last season. Okay, it was a reduced bid for Harry Kane, but they don't just need one striker. Let's face it. I mean, they will need a couple, and if they're going for Haaland, why not go for Harry Kane? There's going to be they're in for enough competitions for everybody to get their game time. So I'm not sure if them getting Haaland, says that no, they're not going to go for Harry Kane. Plus, we don't know how far down the line that deal could break up at any point. So again, I really do hope I'm really wide of the mark, but it's quite the situation at the moment. I think is quite desperate if we don't make top four. It's what Daniel Levy is looking for to get money in the coffers, and I still understand it to have been the reason that Jose Mourinho was sacked. Jose Mourinho was trying to win a trophy for his own ego, perhaps. But let's face it, he was trying to go for a trophy, and the board wanted him to go all out for Champions League, and that's where the differences started happening in the boardroom. So if we're going to say that we're in a similar situation at the moment, they're going to be wanting Champions League football for that purpose to get the money in. And if Conte doesn't make it, means it doesn't get backed. If he doesn't get backed, it means that Kane is going to be looking at who the next person through the door is going to be, whether that's Poch or not. Even we talk about Poch as though he would jump at the chance to come to Tottenham. I mean, look, the guy was sacked. It wasn't. It may have looked amicable, but what's going to be in it for him? He's gone to the French league. He has won trophies, albeit not the trophy that PSG wanted the most. He can go to other clubs of a similar stature. So I'm not sure necessarily that he would just sort of come back as the saviour of Tottenham Hotspur. So look, I think that where we should be is seriously trying to keep Conte as happy as possible, try and keep him in that dressing room, and really Daniel Levy needs to be bending over backwards to try to make him more comfortable for next season if we don't make top four. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely spot on, George. Quick super chat before we let you go from Bob Spurn. He says, Ty, is that George's birthday suit? Big up.
Well, I'd like to dress up for occasions, guys, and being on the show, I think I have to start making more of an effort.
Thanks for coming on, George. Happy birthday to you. I hope you enjoy your day, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Come on, you
Nice one, George.
Come on. All right, that was a brilliant call from George. And next up is KPV. What are you shaking your head for, Carl?
I'm just pissed from the weekend, as I am.
Yeah, we all are, aren't we? Still reeling from it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get too nuclear like Brian was on Saturday, because he had the point that Conte hasn't got the players that he can trust. He hasn't got the players. I'm sick and tired of this 3-4-3. It doesn't work because of a fucking parasite, Daniel Levy. Seriously.
But it was working not long ago. We were scoring 4 goals, 5 goals a game. You were predicting 6 and 7 nils, and then suddenly it falls off. What's happened?
Yeah, it's got to be the mentality: no fight, no passion, no nothing. Like, third game in, like, this is probably the third game of the season without a shot on target since that game at home to Man United. Then Brighton, now Brentford. Like, yeah, Eriksen's the one that kept us quiet, and the Brentford captain said he won the battle against Harry Kane. Like, I don't think so, pal. Pontus Janssen, but like, I don't know what is wrong with us. Like, we've let Arsenal back to this top 4 race. Like, seriously, this is not right.
Are you worried, Kyle, about Conte potentially leaving to PSG, or do you think he's staying?
I'm worried, man, because Brian said this to me a couple months ago. I asked him, does he want Poch back? And he said no, because if he does come back, the same thing can happen under Levy again. We would just not succeed. Like, no offense to Poch, I love the guy. Like, he took us as far as he could, but this is Conte. Like, I want Conte to stay because he's a serial winner. He's won everything where he's been. Like, I want Conte to stay, and he's apparently offered himself to the PSG job. Like, apparently they see Zidane as the first choice, not Conte. But if Conte goes, then we're just going to go backwards again. Like, what are we supposed to do? Just sit around and watch us do nothing? Then what are we supposed to do, huh? This is getting ridiculous.
If Conte is kind of offering himself to PSG at the moment, what's your opinions on Conte, and do you still want him at the club?
I want him at the club because, like, he said when he came, the top 4 was not the target. He wanted to win a trophy, and look what happened. We got knocked out by Middlesbrough, and yeah, that wasn't the target. But like, top 4 is important now. We got 5 games remaining, and we must win. Leicester obviously is the game that you expect us to win. Like, the last time we played them, I believe Laurie saved Vardy's penalty when it came off the bench, and that was the season we got into the Champions League final. But it's going to happen again. I can feel it. Vardy, I know he's back. He was not supposed to be in the squad, but this week, this is going to happen. I can feel it. Laurie knows how to save pens, but it's just not right. Like, why is Emerson starting? I said put Bergwijn there, but he doesn't want to play. But then give Kulu a chance at the right wing back and put Bergwijn with Kane and Son. Change it, Conte. I'm serious. You're making us all angry at the moment. Put Kulusevski at right wing back and put Bergwijn with Kane and Son. Like,
exactly. You heard that. You heard that, Antonio. Carl's going to be after you
he's
soon.
Serious.
He's serious.
He's serious, this guy.
and yeah, like, we play before the field play. They play at 4 at West Ham. Now, West Ham not going to have a single centre back. Like, maybe it would be a good time to put Cresswell there, but he's a fullback, so there's no way. But like, I could play a right wing back, and I'd rather have Expressions there. I don't care what Henry said. Put Expressions there, man. Like,
what about Sim? Would you put Sim at centre back for West Ham this weekend?
Yeah, I probably would. I put Sim there so we can just help West Ham beat Arsenal. Then that's probably it. But why did Ronaldo not take the penalty to like dedicate that to his son, and he refused to take it? Ramsdale telling me look like they just won a Champions League. Are you having a laugh? Seriously. Jog on, Ramsdale. Come to our house when we played, and you're going to get battered. You already knew you was going to get battered when you postponed it. You bottled, but 3 defeats, and they start to turn this form around. This weekend, we have to. So, I demand Bergwijn start. I said that to Danny from Tottenham on Tour at the weekend, and I demand it. So, Levy and Conte, if you're watching, start Bergwijn at right wing back and put Kulusevski staying where he is. But change it the other way round. If you don't, then you know what's going to happen. We're going to have a fallout. I won't watch any more Tottenham games until Levy sorts this out. You heard it here. And as always, Levy, out.
Big
Come
up,
on,
Carl.
Carl.
Thanks for coming on today, my friend, and we'll speak to you soon.
Nice to see you,
Yeah,
Carl.
I'll see you hopefully the weekend.
Big up.
Big up.
Always a great call from Carl Patrick Vineyard. There's been a super chat here from Fanbridge saying, sell Winks, Lucas, Lo Celso, Tanguy, Reguilon, Rodon and Royale for 120 million. Get a goalkeeper, right wing back, left centre back, midfielder, right winger, striker, Cam and CM. Thoughts?
I like playing Football Manager as well.
Yeah.
It's a nice game. There's been a slight update as well from Dan Kilpatrick's weighed in on the situation. He's been talking about the Conte-Pochettino thing. He says that sources close to Pochettino are unsure if this summer would be the right time to return to Tottenham. So imagine the situation where Conte decides to go and we can't
Poch
even
doesn't
get
want
Poch.
to come back.
So then what do we do? Bring Nuno back. Man.
Yeah, I mean, if
interim.
I just had a thought about that super chat. I mean, if Poch does come back, do you think that breathes new life into the Tanguy and Ndombele and Giovanni Lo Celso?
Potentially, you got all things are back on the table if Poch comes back because he's a different way of playing, and it could suit those players a lot more than obviously he brought them to the club, didn't he? So maybe for sure, I think at least in pre-season he has to give him another chance. I'm guessing.
All right, let's go over to our next guest, and that is the Jorical. Jory,
Hey,
how you
guys.
doing today, my friend?
Hey, Jory.
I'm all right. Not too happy about these rumors, but other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, what do you think about these rumours? Do you think there's any truth to them, or do you think there's no smoke without fire? I mean, what's your opinion with them?
Yeah, I kind of think there's no smoke without fire, but I'm not convinced that it's. I'm not convinced that it's actually not, people gaming each other, So, the way I've been, going over it in my head a couple of times, and I kind of settled on. I can imagine maybe Conte, talking or being open in some regard, or putting it out there to pile on pressure on Levy. I can also, because it kind of makes a little bit sense to me in terms of what we're seeing, both Conte and Kane the last two games. They both seem pretty checked out, So if I can like go on a, if I can write the fiction that is the story, I can imagine Conte maybe puts out a feeler. Kane, of course, knows a lot of people in the club, not least Potts, of course, and Kane gets hears about this, and other people in the club hears about it. Kane reacts, disappointed, of course, and people in the club hear it, and Levy hear it, and Levy then flips it and drives this rumor on to see what the reaction from the fan base is going to be around that, to test the waters. What if we did a switcheroo, and so on like that. I kind of feel like it's mostly Levy now. Like the switcheroo thing seems like a Levy kind of a behind the scenes kind of PR thing, hopeful that we would, be kind of calm, but I just think like I don't know. I mean, I don't know about this fan base anymore, because we are the worst kind of protesters. Arsenal, United, you name it, Liverpool, whatever. They really protest. I don't know what. I guess London's too cozy for the fans as well, right? Not only the squad, but the fans are too cozy. Around Spurs, I think.
So do you think if it was to come to fruition that Conte decides that Tottenham don't match his ambition, and Levy does bring back Poch to the club, do you think there would be enough positivity from the return of Poch that would placate the fans?
Not me. I mean, yes, I do think the contingent, which is driving me absolutely nuts, what I've often called the casual fans or whatever, the Levy inners, they might actually, rejoice or take it as a all right thing or the best solution in terms of, since Conte is being a sourpuss anyway, it's better this way, whatever. But it's I don't know. You need to be absolutely brain dead and delusional at the same time if it's not obvious to you that this is just another stayover for Levy. This is just another survival tactic. It has nothing to do with building a new ambitious project, other than making money on young players, making money on the corporate developments and all of that. That's what they're doing. And the fact that we're hearing these rumors at all means that I don't think we would hear it to this extent if Conte is not unsatisfied. So which is like, that's enough for me. It's like, how fucking retarded and how suicidal are you, Levy? You don't mess about here. We're lucky to have this guy in. This is your chance to fix everything in the club. It's not only about contending now, getting the fourth and trying to go for a title next season or whatever. It's also about building the club completely correctly in terms of football. This is we can be Man United, which we are. We are Man United light with Levy at the helm, or we can be Liverpool, I'm not even saying that the corporate, entities need to, like, this complete corporate emphasis needs to be all bad. At least Liverpool has shown the way to do it, So we can, like, if we take Conte's blueprint, what he is trying to do is not trying to fix the squad. He's trying to fix the squad. He's trying to fix the cafeteria. He's trying to fix the fitness people. He's trying to fix the medical. He's trying to fix everything around this club. And if we follow it like Juventus did when they were like in shatters, we'll come out as a real club with a legacy for the next 10, 20 years, But if we do the same run around, it's going to accelerate very quickly. But, I'm saying that, but I always end up being absolutely shocked and surprised with the delusional nature of the Levy inners or the non-Levy outers.
Jory, does a part of you think that if it is a choice for Levy between backing Conte this summer, and like Conte is obviously very demanding, he's always on his case. I want 6 players, I want to be challenging immediately for titles and cups, and I want it now. I don't want a project. I don't want to wait for it. I'm it's all about now for Conte, and he's a lot of money, like very expensive. Is there a fear for you that Levy just might go, all right, I can't give it to you, and I'm just going to go for Poch, and he's a cheaper option, and like maybe he won't be as demanding, and maybe it'll be easier life for Levy if he goes for Pochettino?
Yeah, I know, definitely, and I don't even think I don't even think it needs to be Conte being that demanding. Really, it's like, of course, Conte will be demanding, but I even think like Levy could make the calculation, and we know this. Like I just want to do make a metaphor here. Like Levy is the guy that when he needs a pair of headphones, he goes and he buys the third most expensive, with most of the features, but not the, and he does, and they break within a week, and then he buys another in that bracket and another one, and it ends up being 3 or 4 times more expensive than buying the ones that everybody knows is world class, is the ones you need to have, but they're the most expensive. And that's what he's been doing with managers and players. He wants a deal everywhere he goes, but the deal end up being absolute. Like how much did Lo Celso and Unterberli cost the club, you know, and how much does this manager merry-go-round cost the club, and so on, you know. So, so yeah, Levy is that kind of guy. So I actually think even if Levy makes the calculation and he comes out of buying the players that Conte asked for, it's going to end up being less, you know, a smaller price tag than anything else. Levy might still go for trying, like he's testing the waters if he can get rid of Conte. Why is it? I think, yeah, it might be money, but I think mostly it's why I don't think, for example, PSG might want Conte. Getting Conte in is the most dangerous and probably the worst thing you can do if you're a corporate little you know, middle manager, you know, who wants just to slide invisibly along the corporate walls, you know, and do your thing and let nobody, you know, take notice of you. Conte is going to out you in a second, and that's what's coming up now. If Levy doesn't open the purse, Conte is definitely going to go full ballistic, I think, also to save his own face. I would say on the flip side, if Conte really is serious about this and is not using it as a leverage tactic towards Levy, then I would say, you know, shame on you, Conte. You're not the man that you pretend to be anymore, clearly, you know. So because that's disgusting. You have to stand with your squad and your players till the end of the season. Then you can, you know, do whatever, but you can't just be crawling out, you know, throwing in the towel at this moment in time, you know. So and that's like, I don't feel like that fits the MO of Conte, you know. But I also think Conte is also probably running out of options in the top flight of things, you know, because he is so dangerous for the ownership of clubs, you know. I don't think any owner is really looking forward to getting Conte in, to be honest, you know, unless they're real just in for the glory and bleeding money, the old school type owners, you know. But these modern corporate owners, they're not looking forward to it. But I would also say, like, because you guys were asking, you know, in terms of being backed, you know, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping this is play from both of them. Conte, you know, trying to leverage PSG against Levy, and Levy then in his hopeful naivety thinking that he might, you know, that we might actually want rather to get Poch in, you know, which I would love to get Poch back in when this club is fixed, you know, when all of this stuff is behind us and settled and we're running a real footballing club, you know, like it's supposed to run. Then I would very much, I think almost we owe Poch to come back and give it a shot, you know. And I think it would be a great reunion, to be honest. Can you hear me, guys?
Oh,
Yeah, we can
sure,
hear you. We just
It's
can't
gone
see
for
you.
some reason.
Okay, it's cutting out for some reason here. But as long as you can hear me. But I was going to say, I think in terms of being backed, I think, and I said it on the other show where Danny and David were hosting, that I think it's a question. It's a question of Conte will leave if he's not backed, but he won't be backed to the extent that he needs to be backed unless we get Champions League. So it's not, I don't think Conte says I have to have Champions League. I think he says I have to have this much money, I have to have these players. But I don't think Levy will ever consider opening the purse to the degree that Conte needs unless we have the Champions League revenue, you know. So
yeah, I agree with that.
yeah.
Now it's, I don't know what's going on.
Fair enough, Joy, but
You're taking over the studio.
It's on
at the
my
moment.
end, Brian. It's on my end. It's been acting up this morning. So.
Well, Jory, thanks for calling in, mate. Great call as always, and we'll see you very soon.
see you later, Jory.
Take care, guys.
See you soon.
Big up,
Nice
big
one,
up.
Jory.
Levy
out. There you go.
We got a super chat here from George saying, thank you everyone for your birthday wishes. Very kind. Let's hope the team can give us all a present next game. Apologies to KPV. Just seen his post. Come on, you Spurs.
All right.
I guess that's it for today. Is that it? All right. So we'll be back with a Tottenham update a bit later on today. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. A nice long stream for you guys. 2 hours of a bit of panic, but let's hope it doesn't go any further than that. I mean, let's be honest. If Poch does come back this summer, the last 3 years just been a complete waste of time.
Correct.
Complete waste of time.
Oh, yeah, definitely true.
But
if Conte, 100%. I mean, the last 2 years anyway have already, but now Conte's here. We feel like we're going somewhere, and if that gets ripped up again, then we're back at square one.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.